Hey guys, what's going on? Hayden here. I want to talk to you guys today about ARMS. But before I begin, I am not alone. I am joined by KeybladeSmasher. Go ahead and introduce yourself, man.
Hey, I'm KeybladeSmasher. On my channel, I talk about animation, film, and of course, video games. If it's nerdy, it's on my channel.
Awesome. So yeah, ARMS is the game that I want to talk about today, and this was revealed, of course, back in January. This is a big new IP that Nintendo's really pushing. But I don't think it's gaining quite the traction that Splatoon gained back when it was revealed a couple years ago. I'm pretty positive about this game. There's a few things I'm concerned about, but before we get into the nitty-gritty, let's hear about your general impressions of the game.
Well, so far, I mean, you can definitely tell it's a Nintendo product. I'll give it that. As far as a fighting game goes, I'm a little bit hesitant to embrace it because it seems a little bit simplistic. Like I said, it's definitely got that Nintendo feel, but I have to agree with you. It's no Splatoon. There is definitely going to be an uphill battle if it wants to get some of that Splatoon-style hype.
I couldn't have said it better myself. This is a game that, based on what previews have said and based on what we've seen both in trailers and gameplay footage from Treehouse and whatnot, this game looks like it's going to be fun. Like, I can't deny the fun factor that this game seems to just give off. But you're kind of right. It's lacking the depth that most fighting games have, and I use the term fighting game loosely because this is really unlike anything we've ever seen, which is exciting in a way though, because maybe it'll lack the depth of like a fighting game that, I don't know, like Tekken or Street Fighter might have, but it seems like it's bringing a lot of new elements to the table, which do genuinely excite me.
Yeah, it's no UMVC or Smash Brothers, but it seems to be more like Punch-Out than anything. But I mean, it's got the whole mechanic of the retractable and shoot forward your arms, and it's definitely unique. But I don't know whether or not I would say it's unique enough to warrant being its own IP, at least in my personal opinion.
That's kind of where I'm coming from. It almost seems like, because you're right, it seems very much like a spiritual successor to something like Punch-Out. But it just doesn't, based on what we've seen so far, I can't, in good conscience, call this a brand new IP. It almost feels like a secondary mode to something else. But before we get into the whole negativity and whatnot, let's talk about the stuff that we're kind of positive about with the game. And for me to start, the characters. I'm really loving what they've shown off so far. There's a lot of diversity in the characters, both in their aesthetics and in like the fact that like each of them has a unique ability, and these abilities seem very, very different. I mean, you've got Helix, who's my personal favorite character, who can grow and shrink in size. But then you've got Min Min, who can like do like a kick in the air and whatnot. So I'm really liking the characters so far.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. The characters, like I said, definitely have that sort of Nintendo feel. I honestly think they're a little bit out there even by Nintendo standards, but that's not to say I dislike them. I think Helix is kind of weird personally, but I'm pretty hyped for Min Min. I think she looks pretty cool, and she's probably going to be my main character. Just the whole kicking and the aerial mobility, that attracts me.
Nice.
So, as for the other characters, Springman, he's seemingly the main character. He looks like your main character, and Ribbon Girl, I mean, that's waifu material for all the fans out there. But I'm not sure what to think of any of the other ones. The Mummy seems pretty cool. I'm not for sure of what his name is. I think it's Master Mummy.
I think so, yeah.
I mean, he looks pretty cool, but that's because I watched Ben 10 growing up, and I know the Mummy is always pretty cool. So,
yeah, for me, I actually was really liking Ninjara before Helix got announced, and then when Helix got announced, I was like, oh my god, he is so strange. I need to play as him. I don't even care. Like, to be honest, his ability doesn't seem that great with him growing and shrinking and whatnot. I actually think Min Min has the coolest unique ability to her, but right. I don't know, just something about him. He's just so strange. I really like using the unorthodox characters in fighting games and whatnot, and right now Helix is definitely that for me.
See, I agree with you there. I usually like using unorthodox characters. I don't know, Min Min just seems a little bit more, I guess, weird than Helix does. But I mean, I'll probably give them all a shot, see how they feel. But I mean, as far as aesthetics, I mean, they look pretty good. They definitely look fantastic in HD, which is something I didn't think I would say when I first saw it revealed. I thought, oh, it's just Punch Out, but and then I looked at it, and I mean, man, they look great. This is 10 times better than I think Punch Out would ever look on Switch.
You're right. The visual style and the hardware of the Switch is really fitting for these characters. But speaking of characters, something that's kind of interesting and actually excites me and surprises me if it's real. There was an interview that came out, I forget from which outlet, but an interview came out the other day saying that the characters that have been revealed so far are only a fraction of what's actually in the game, which surprises me and excites me because, one, with this being the first game in the ARMS franchise, I figured, okay, we'll get 10, 12 characters at most, just to kind of, you know, form a good base for this series to go forward on. But if this is only a fraction of what they've shown, like, holy crap, or what they're going to show, like, holy crap.
Yeah, we've got, like, what, 8 characters now, I think? 6, 7, maybe 8? I
think 7.
If that's just a fraction of it, I mean, as long as the characters are unique, I'm all good with them. Exactly. And all of them I can't say feel, I haven't played it yet, but they all look like they definitely are very different from one another, which I do appreciate. I don't want a Dark Pit situation here.
It really does seem like, again, at least so far, that each character, they've really done a lot to differentiate these characters from each other. Now, that's not to say that clones are totally out of the question, but
right, with
the amount of creativity that we've seen so far, I'm kind of leaning towards there being very little, if any, clones at all. Maybe we'll get like a Dark Spring Man. We don't know what the story mode's going to be like yet, but as of right now, I'm really liking the variety.
If they're gonna do clones, I think they're probably gonna do it more like Street Fighter does it, where they have Shoto clones, they have some similar special moves, but like every other aspect is modified at least one way. You know, like Ryu and Ken, they are different from each other.
Yeah.
So yeah. I think if they're gonna do that, that's how they're gonna do it. And for all we know, there might not be clones at all.
Yeah, but I completely agree with that. It just seems like that would make the most sense. But what is another thing that you're really positive about with the game?
Just how gorgeous it looks. Like I said earlier, the colors are vibrant. They're quote unquote springy, and the mechanics are definitely a big thing. Like I did say earlier, I think they are a little bit simplistic, but again, we haven't had hands-on time with it. And the fact that it's a legit 3D fighting game, I don't think Nintendo's ever really tackled that before. They've done Smash, and they've had the third parties do stuff like Street Fighter, but this one's the first like major 3D fighting game that's not like a Dragon Ball game on here, and it's definitely nice to see them going into that plane of existence rather than sticking it to 2D.
This does really excite me for that reason, a 3D fighting game, because the only one that we've really seen is Pokken Tournament, and even then that was only like half 3D, like only half the time it was 3D. But this is going like full-fledged 3D. And you're right, the mechanics, they seem fun. Being able to switch out the different arm types, having a firearm on one arm and like a boomerang on the other. I'm really liking that, and I think the mechanics that they've shown off so far, they seem like that's it. Being able to grab your opponents, being able to maybe like distract them with one arm but use the other one. There's like a finisher move that you can do or something like that with each character. What they've shown off, it seems like that's about it. I don't know if there would be more. I don't know why they would be hiding more. And it does look fun. It just looks like there's strategy but not depth, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I definitely know what you're saying. It feels like there's a nice amount of strategy left, but it seems like it's going to be simplistic enough that you can have over at parties, and people that haven't played Switch or kids will be able to play it as well, which I do appreciate, although I don't know how it's going to work with game balancing as a result.
Yeah, this does really seem like a game. I mean, it's a Nintendo game, so most of them are
Yeah.
aimed at kids. But see, that's where Smash Brothers comes in, where that is a
Hmm.
game that is definitely aimed at kids. But look at how serious it is in the competitive, like in just competitive gaming in general. And I don't know if ARMS is going to get to quite that level. Now, granted, Pokken Tournament is something that's treated, semi-seriously in the competitive gaming world.
Right.
But Pokken Tournament is also a much deeper game, seemingly, than what we've seen with ARMS so far. But that said, it still looks like it's going to be fun.
I agree.
Now, something else that I'm really liking about the game, and this is something that I didn't think was that necessary, but I'm glad they're doing, is the world building, the lore in this game. Granted, we don't have much yet, but it seems like these arms fights, I don't know exactly what they're called, they seem to be a pretty big deal in the context of the arms world, where you've got all these like fans cheering on the competitors. You've got like a dedicated announcer to the game, being, I don't know what he's called, but the little yellow guy from the direct. Biff, yes.
Oh my god, he looks so stupid. I feel bad for saying that, but man, he looks so dumb.
He does. Like, he just looks... He's got that Nintendo, like, facepalm kind of moniker to him. But, I mean, I think he's lovably stupid, is the best way I can put it.
He's no Squid Research Lab person, is he?
No, definitely not. Though we don't even... Do we know what the Squid Research Lab guy looks like?
They did that whole live action thing at the Switch presentation, but I don't think we do know, which I think is a good thing. I think we should keep it that way.
I agree.
People will be demanding him be in Smash Brothers next.
Oh my god! Sorry, this is a little off track. Didn't that guy on the stage like dab or something?
Yeah, he did.
Oh my god. Well, so anyway, getting back to ARMS, I am really liking the world of ARMS so far. It seems like it's a it seems like it's a very friendly competition. Like the arms fighting, it seems like it's a very friendly event, which kind of makes me wonder what kind of single player content will we see in this game. Because usually I haven't played many fighting games, but usually there's different like factions like going at each other in a fighting game story mode. There's usually different sides and whatnot, but from what we can tell, this seems like a pretty friendly environment.
Well, I seem to think, at least as from what we've seen, it looks the most to me like they're pulling from like I don't know, like a lucha libre style, like world. Like everybody's friendly. It's not like American wrestling. It's more of an over the top kind of thing, and everybody sits and watches it. But we're talking about single player. You've played games like Injustice or Marvel vs. Capcom. They obviously have arcade mode, but some of them do have stories. Mortal Kombat's another one that does that. Like that, you're right. They do usually have two factions going at it. I don't think that's going to be the case here, though. Like you said, it seems to be a friendly, more laid back sort of thing, which it fits the Nintendo style.
Yeah, and I'm kind of hoping that there is more than just an arcade, like go to this character to this character to this character, because that's such a outdated style of progression, if you ask me. But what's kind of interesting, and I did a video on this the other day, is that they released a new Nintendo released a new piece of artwork from ARMS, and it could mean nothing, but it showed Springman grabbing a kid out of the way of a moving car before the car hit him. So I kind of did a little video on that, wondering like, is this just a piece of artwork, or is this like hinting at something? And I thought maybe it's the single player, with these characters being, with the world being seemingly like super into these ARMS fighters. What if the ARMS characters are like superheroes, or not superheroes, but like your everyday superhero, if you will, like going around and just like solving like minor problems throughout the town, throughout the world of ARMS. And I thought that might have been like one example of that.
Well, what they do have, I'm pretty sure they have 3D range of movement. So there might be points where you can like run through a stage and like, I don't know, rescue 10 kids from being, in the way, with one arm or something. They might have like challenge stages, or they might have rescue missions, things like that. since, like I said, they do seem to have somewhat 3D range of movement when fighting.
Yeah, I think a third person kind of like interactive platformer. I don't know if that's what you'd want to call it, but that's kind of what it's. That's kind of like what I can imagine the best is maybe just having like a world that you can move forward and sideways in and whatnot, and there's different things in the environment that you can grab onto or hit or move out of the way or whatnot. Just getting really creative with the arms themselves.
Right.
I don't know what we would see other than that, because we had seen a tad bit of just single player stuff where we saw, I forget if it was in the direct or if it was in just some trailer, but there was a video of him like punching a bunch of targets. And he had to like line up his shot or whatever, and then that's how he earned money, or that's how you earned like in-game currency to unlock new arm types. But besides that, like I don't know if we've really seen anything single player wise.
Right. Yeah. As far as it goes, I'm gonna keep my expectations, fairly reasonable, simply because it's a fighting game, and most fighting games at least have an arcade style mode. And, Nintendo's not exactly the one to always break tradition when it comes to that kind of ground. Yeah. So I'm gonna keep my expectations reasonable, but I wouldn't be opposed to having a more, like story-based thing.
And that's what worries me the most is if there's not a lot of, like, granted, it's a fighting game, yes, but if there's not a lot of replayability, I don't know how I don't know how long this game is going to last unless it has DLC. If it has DLC, then this game will definitely have a much longer lifespan than without. But, if there's no single player, you can unlock the different arm types, but if that's it, like, I don't know. We're a little over a month from this game being released, and we still don't know that much about it. Or maybe we do know a lot about it, and the game has basically been shown to us.
Well, I'm running under the assumption they're probably going to have some unlockable characters, so that's probably going to be the bulk of, completionist, if you will, working on it. But I don't know as far as single player. But you mentioned DLC. Well, ever since Animal Crossing New Leaf, they've been slowly introducing DLC into it. They had a bunch of DLC for Animal Crossing. Then they had Splatoon had all the free DLC updates.
Yeah.
And of course, Smash had the new fighters and stages, and Breath of the Wild is getting new pieces of the campaign. So I think it's pretty safe to assume ARMS is going to have at least some level of DLC.
I agree. It seems fairly reasonable to think that. And I gotta say, Nintendo, for the most part, has really handled DLC well. For coming into the DLC scene late relative to other developers and consoles, Nintendo has done a bang-up job with their DLC for the most part. And I'm really excited to see what they could kind of bring into this game, because maybe it's a situation like Splatoon, where the game comes out and it's good, but it's a little lacking in content, but they gradually kind of roll out new, maybe new characters or new stages or new modes or something, which I guess I'd be fine with that.
That's what I'm banking on. Because I bought Splatoon day one, and I adored it, but at the same time, I thought it was very lackluster. But then they announced, hey, we're going to be doing all this free DLC, and it's like, okay, that's fair. You wanted to stick to a release date. That's cool. So I'm considering how successful and how positive the reception for it was. I think they're going to probably do the same thing with ARMS, considering it's also a new IP that they can get away with doing it.
Yeah, you bring up a good point there. It is a new IP. Just getting it out there for people to to play it and get it in the public eye, I think that's a good idea. And getting it out, I think, before Splatoon is a really good call, because Splatoon is already... It's crazy to say it, but it's already an established IP, a big established IP by Nintendo.
Heck, you see the Inklings in just about as much Nintendo art as you see Pikachu and Mario and Link at this point. Like, exactly. They have become... It's because they were the first new IP in a really long time, like, that got a lot of promotion. As a result, they have become, like, instantly recognizable Nintendo icons. I mean, Splatoon outsold Smash, so
yeah,
like, they are definitely icons at this point already.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And like, having Splatoon come out before ARMS, if that happened, I think that would really cannibalize ARMS, because they have a lot of similarities. They're both multiplayer based. They're both, you know, kind of going for that same art style. They're both
really colorful and have yeah, they both got they got the Nintendo feel, like I said.
Exactly. So I'm really hoping this game does well. Like, it's still something that I'll likely pick up day one. It's just, I am concerned about the longevity of this game.
Yeah, like I said, the mechanics, as cool as they are, they don't seem to be as complex as other games. And when you think about it, you know, you mentioned Pokken. It was a cool game, and I adore Pokken, but the mechanics compared to something like, you know, Marvel versus Capcom or Tekken, they were quite a bit more simplistic, and as a result, they don't have as many die-hard fans or tournaments. So if they don't market it right to be a competitive fighter, then longevity for the game may be in danger.
I agree, and I think that's kind of where E3 comes in, because this game is supposed to release on like the last day of E3 or something, or like just after E3. I think it's the 18th of June. And I think that is the time to really hype it up, because yeah, E3 is you're gonna have Mario Odyssey there, of course. You're gonna have, you know, new announcements and whatnot. But with ARMS coming out at the end of the week, that, like, E3 is the biggest time of year for gaming. And if they can hype up ARMS, like, people are gonna walk out of E3 like, wow, like, I'm really excited about this ARMS game. And guess what? I can buy it now while it's still fresh in my mind.
Exactly.
I think that's what's gonna need to happen. Like, granted, I think they've done a good job marketing this game already. Like, I think most hardcore Nintendo fans are sold enough on it to buy it. But I really think this is a game that, because it's seemingly lacking in content, if they can market it right, if they can hype it up at the right time in the right way, I think this game will be more successful than otherwise.
Right, and that actually leads into a point that I made a note about earlier. The way that I think, this is just a personal opinion of mine, because, you know, I think there's going to be a new Smash title probably announced at E3. Like, literally, the best way that they could possibly double market both ARMS and Splatoon, I don't know, maybe revealing Springman as a playable fighter in Smash, like a combo between, I don't know, Corrin and Little Mac. I mean, think about that. That would be the perfect way to market it. Like, I'm still shocked they never did Inklings that way, but I mean, Inklings, that's a lock for next game anyway. But as a result, that could be the ultimate way to market not only a new Smash title, but ARMS as well. I mean, when you get into Smash, you know, that what happened to Corrin, Fate sold amazingly.
Man, I did not even think about that. So here's the thing with me and Smash. I go back and forth on whether I think it'll be announced this year or not. If it gets announced this year, I don't think it's coming out this year. I think it's coming out next year, no doubt. I think they've got I don't think they want to blow through all their big IPs too fast. But you're right. If they included Springman, you're right. Inklings, like, doesn't matter when a new Smash game announced, Inklings are getting announced with it. Like, that's for sure, no doubt. But you're right. If they put Springman in Smash, like, there you go. Like, that's gonna sell ARMS right there. Like, it's what kickstarted the American Fire Emblem fan base of being Smash Brothers. Of course, Corrin, Fates sold like hotcakes.
And then even back on the 64, Ness and later Lucas. Look how big Earthbound has become compared to what it used to be. It's still a cult classic, but it's a more well recognized cult classic as one of the biggest and most prized gems of gaming at this point.
You're totally right. Smash sells. And if Smash Brothers does get announced at E3 this year, whether it's a port or a new game, I think it's going to be a port. I think a lot of people think it's going to be a port.
I agree.
Like, I think there would be some ARMS content in there. The best way for that to be in Smash, of course, is having a new character. I didn't think about that. Wow, that's really good, though.
Like, literally, that's the most marketable way to put a character, even when it comes to third-party characters. I mean, look at the roster you have of third-party characters. You have Sonic, and, you know, Sonic sells automatically. But Mega Man then got the collection on 3DS, and it did pretty well.
And he's seemingly getting another one, it looks like.
Yep. Pac-Man, he's Pac-Man. He's just that big guy that kind of started gaming. Yeah. So he hasn't really gotten anything major new. But Ryu was right before Street Fighter V. Cloud with Final Fantasy VII Remake being on the ever expanding horizon.
Yeah.
And of course, Bayonetta, with Bayonetta 2 being a Wii U exclusive, and the re-release, I can't remember how the re-release did, but people it's like, oh, who's this character? Bayonetta? Never heard of her. What's her game like? Oh, it's like Devil May Cry, but it's with a girl. And they went out and they would buy it, and even people I know have gone out and bought copies and adored it because Bayonetta got in Smash. I mean, it's the ultimate seller no matter who's in it. If Link was a new character and Breath of the Wild came out, then it would have sold Breath of the Wild even better.
Yeah, the Smash is such an important franchise. It really is just a celebration of gaming. And putting a character in that, like, you're right, it expands that character's just reach by leaps and bounds. Man, that's really smart though. You're right. If Smash Brothers is at E3, they've got to put Springman in there. That is like the perfect storm. Having Springman announced for Smash Brothers, or like a Smash Brothers port being announced and Springman being included, and then having the game that Springman is from come out just days later. Yeah, like that's a really good marketing strategy. And
they could segue it. Like, it's like, all right, so we're all excited about Smash, we're all excited about Springman, but if you want to get an early taste of what Springman might be like in Smash, ARMS comes out tomorrow.
Yeah.
Go ahead and go into your local Best Buy, give it a shot, and if you like it, why not pick it up? Literally, that would be a genius marketing strategy.
I completely agree. So is there anything else you wanted to talk about with ARMS?
There were a couple things that are actually some negatives to it.
Okay, go for it.
Again, I think it's not going to live up to the whole Splatoon thing. Even though Splatoon 2 comes out after, I still think it's not going to live up to Splatoon's standards.
I agree.
I definitely think they need more content if this is what it is. But if they've announced that this is just a fraction, that's not too big of a deal. As far as mechanics go, though, and this is probably my biggest one, because we know that the stages, they are varied. I thought they were going to be more like Punch Out, where it didn't have much variation. It was just flat stage. But when Min Min got announced, they showed the bowl themed stage, which I guess is her stage, and it's got hills and stuff. So stages look like they'll have give an actual advantage to some characters. Guess any fighting game can do that. Smash has even done it with some characters. But with a 3D fighting space, characters like Ninjara and Min Min, they're going to have huge advantages on stages with hills just because they're superior air fighters. So when they get up on top of a hill, they are going to be godlike.
You're right. It really is. I think the stage is going to matter just as much as the character that you pick.
Which is why it kind of worries me a little bit on how competitive they can make it.
And it could end up being a Smash Brothers situation where only certain stages are competitively viable, so to speak. It looks like the boxing arena is the final destination of that game.
Right.
And I guess that is a bit concerning, but I guess it is. This is aimed to be a casual game. At least it seems like it anyway. So having these fun environments to play around in, I can be okay with that.
Okay. And the only other thing that I felt a little bit, on the fence about, is the whole thing that it is like a spiritual successor to Punch Out in its mechanics, but it's a lot slower. In Punch Out, you're throwing punches and then you immediately dodge to get the better of whoever you're fighting. But in ARMS, you don't really have that luxury because you're waiting for your arms to retract. Sure, you can throw out the other one, but if you have both arms out, you got to wait for them to retract. I mean, you can move around, but you can't block, you can't jump, you can't really do anything. One false move can get you, KO'd. And while that's fair and normal in fighting games, the margin for error is really, really small here.
I agree, and it's kind of interesting that you make the Punch-Out comparison because in ARMS, seemingly, if you make a wrong move or if you miss, yeah, they're gonna take advantage of you. But in Punch-Out, it's kind of the same thing, where if you mess up, there's gonna be huge repercussions for it. But it's almost like a different kind of punishment. Because with Punch-Out, like they're gonna, you're very weak, you're very frail in Punch-Out.
Yeah, you're gonna get your face comboed in by at least 3 hits or more.
Yeah,
and like if you're fighting someone like Bald Bull, you might even get more.
Yeah,
it just depends.
And like that's the thing with arms is like, I wonder how punishing it is to how much punishment it's going to be if you miss an attack, and depending on if you miss or if you maybe use the wrong move or combo it wrong, it's going to be kind of interesting to see how punishing this game really is, because like you said, it seems like it takes a while for your arms to actually come back into your body. So it's
like almost in reality, it's not that long, but in the sense of the game, it's slow as all hell.
Yeah,
I'm sorry if that's a little strong language, but
oh, dude, don't worry about
it. It is like, it's slow. Like, people complain about Brawl for being slow. This feels slower than Brawl.
You know what? Like, just based on the footage we've seen, I can kind of agree, and that's actually kind of saying something. But again, I don't think it's necessarily bad, because it fits in with what these characters are. They're these big, long, springy characters. Gameplay-wise, it might not be desirable to some people. It's just going to be a matter of getting our hands on it and seeing how it actually plays. It may end up working. It may not. We'll just see, I guess.
We'll just have to see, wait till we get a chance. Like I said, this is all stuff that we can't really make a true judgment on until we've played it. But I think ARMS looks really fun, and I think that it can be a really good party fighter. It's never going to be Smash Brothers, because Smash Brothers is big. But for a second big like fighting series, I mean, if they market it right, and if they give us a decent amount of content, I think it could become a series. It's not going to be as big as Splatoon, but I'm cautiously optimistic for it.
That's a good way of putting it. I feel the same. I'm cautiously optimistic. I think it could be, a second-tier franchise for Nintendo, based on what we've seen so far. But I think that's everything I had. Do you have anything else?
Nah, that's about everything that I had.
Awesome. So I think that's it from us, guys. So thank you guys, of course, for watching. KeybladeSmasher, tell the people where they can find you at.
Well, you can find me on YouTube as, of course, KeybladeSmasher. I'm sure the link will be in the description. But you can also find me on Twitter, Tumblr, and Facebook under the name KeybladeSmasher.
Awesome.
I post silly memes and funny comments on my Twitter, and you can keep up with me on my YouTube.
Sweet. And yes, I will leave a link for that in the description. Again, thank you guys for watching. If you enjoyed this video, of course, please leave a like. And don't forget to let us know in the comments. What do you think about ARMS so far? Do you agree with anything we've been saying? Are you excited? Are you, a little cautious about what's coming? Yeah, let us know. And if you enjoyed this video, of course, please subscribe to my channel and follow me on Twitter. Links for those are in the description of this video. All right, peace out, guys. Bye.
Bye.